Good evening, friends. It's a great pleasure to be back here in Thiruvananthapuram for the Mathrubhumi Book Festival. And in particular, it is a great privilege to be here to have a conversation with my dear friend Firat Sunel, the ambassador of Turkey to India, Bhutan, and Nepal. There is a long and great tradition of diplomats writing, and Firat is one of the best examples that you can find of that. And that's why for this session, which is diplomacy, culture, and beyond, you could not have a more appropriate person to be part of this discussion and to share his thoughts and ideas with the audience. Let me briefly introduce him. As all ambassadors do, he lives in New Delhi now. He is an international lawyer and a script writer, over and above being an author of 4 books. 2 of his books have been translated into Malayalam, and 1 is currently in the process of being translated. I will show the books briefly. The first one, which was translated into Malayalam, is in English, called In the Shade of the Weeping Willows, and in Malayalam, Ilapoyiyum Marathinte Nizhalukalil. And the second book, which has already been translated, is called The Lighthouse Family, which also was translated into English, and he has it with him. It was recently released, and it is the first book of his to come in English. And it is a matter of great pride for us that it has come out here in India. That shows the special bonds that exist between India and Turkey, as well as the wonderful relationship that he has been able to carve out for himself amongst the literary world of India. Friends, today we will discuss, as the topic indicates, culture, a little bit of diplomacy, and we will talk about a few things beyond. And my preference is to start with culture and with his books. Firat's book, which I just now showed you, In the Shade of the Weeping Willows, is a compelling and touching story of exile and migration, of people who were forcibly exiled during Stalin's rule because of the whimsical decision of a single ruler, and the suffering that they had to undergo. And as all of you know, this is not an only incident. There are many such incidents which have happened within India, which have happened across the world, where decisions of political masters have led to mass displacement and immense suffering, not just for the people who went through it, but probably it created psychological trauma for many generations later. So I'd like to start off asking Firat to tell us about that book, how he was inspired to write the book, what has been the reaction to the book. It has been a huge success from what I understand. There are PhD theses which have been written about the book. It has been translated widely. So tell us about this book, Firat.
Okay, so we start with my first novel. Okay. So before I start the story behind this novel, I would like to tell about how I started writing, because it is associated with this novel. So I have been writing and reading since I learned how to read and write. And my greatest dream was to become a writer, exactly to say a novelist. And I started writing small stories even when I was in primary school. I wrote my first so-called novel, because I say so-called because it was not a real novel. That was just imitation of Robinson Crusoe when I was in grade 3. So it has always been my dream. But to become a writer, a novelist, this is not an easy thing. You cannot say, I like reading, I can write very well, I have very good ideas, a very deep imagination. No, these are not enough to become a novelist. You need to develop your own literary style, and I call it your pen must be matured. So That was my dream, to become a novelist, but I always felt my pen is not mature enough to write a novel. And I was planning to write novels after my retirement. When I was in Georgia in 2003, this is exactly 20 years ago, I was deputy chief of the Turkish embassy there, and I was in my 40s. I met with some people there, very old people, 80, 85, and some of them are 90. There were the Meskhetian Turks, so-called Ahıska Turks. They were deported in 1944 from Georgia, adjacent region to Turkey, to Central Asia in one night. 100,000 people, they have to leave their homes where they had been living for centuries in peace, in one night. And with animal carriages, they were dispersed to Central Asia, 100,000 people, and more than 30,000 of them died on their way. So the people, the old people that I talked to, they were those people who survived this exile, death exile. And then I start talking with them. They told me their stories, so touching stories. You can't just listen without crying, really, so touching and poignant stories. And really, I heard so many stories of them, and then I visited their villages. They left 65 years ago, several times. And then one day in the morning, I was writing. I felt my pen was, mature enough. So that was this book. That's why I had to tell the story behind. So this book tells the tragic event, which based on historical facts. Deportation of Meskhetian Turks by Stalin to Central Asia. And I started writing this book in 2003, 20 years ago, and then published after a couple of years, 2011, when I was in Germany. This book was, although it was my first book, it became a success. I am so happy to catch the success with the first book. It has already a 7th edition in Turkey, published in several languages, as you see, including Malayalam, and also adapted to a series in Turkey. You can watch the series in YouTube because it has already in 2015. Subject to several literature articles and doctorate theses. This is the story behind, and I don't want to give any spoiler. You can
you
just
must buy it and read it.
It's in Malayalam. This is your advantage, of course.
But let me mention that the book is in its 7th edition, and I believe the TV series made out of it is available on YouTube.
Yes, YouTube. You can check. You can check my name and TV series in Google. Then you will find this is a mini series. I leave the decision to you whether you like it or not.
Ambassador, your second book was Ismirli, My Last Love. And this book has been described as a deep, passionate story about morbid love, a gripping story. I think that is the kind of story which Kerala audiences love. Can you please tell us a little more about this?
Yes, it's true. The Indian people, they like books or series when they make them cry or laugh. So Ismirli doesn't make people laugh, but a bit cry. It's a very deep love story. Yes, this is my second book. I don't have a copy, but it's a large book with 500 pages. I don't have here the copy, but good news, it will be also published within this year in Malayalam as well. Malayalam and English. I think by the end of this year, it will be published by Penguin. in English version and also Malayalam. So it will be also available. Just short introducing about this book. İzmirli, as you mentioned, is a love story. The narrator is a woman, so it is told through the eyes of a woman and the feeling of the woman, is, of course. And you said it's a morbid love. Yes, in order to write a novel, if something to do with love, there must be a question, a problem. If there is no problem, there is no love. Maybe there is love, but there is no novel, love novel. If two people meet, they like each other, I love her, she loves me, we flirt, we get engaged, we get married, we have children, we are happy.
It's no fun.
No, you cannot write such a novel. So that's why in love, if your topic is love. Okay, İzmirli is not a love story, as a matter of fact. This is a psychological thriller, but because it is associated with a deep love, in reality, this is a psychological thriller. İzmirli is about this morbid love, and that's all. I cannot tell anything without giving a spoiler.
Was it also inspired by something in your personal life? Somebody who fell in morbid love with you?
Thanks God, I am alive.
Okay, so the third book and the most recent book, The Lighthouse Family, is a book about family values, a topic that we all relate to in India. It is also a book about loneliness within the family. And it is set in the end of the First World War, or the Second World War?
Second World War.
Second World War.
In the middle of Second World War.
Could you please tell us about this book?
Okay, as you said, this is historical fiction, an historical novel told by a little boy. So it is through the eyes of a little boy who lives in a lighthouse with his two siblings and family. The lighthouse is located on the westernmost tip of Turkey and far away from everything, everywhere, and everybody, of course. You are associated with lighthouses. We have a very famous lighthouse here, but most of the people, they have never seen a lighthouse in their life. But lighthouses are always far away. They are always symbol of loneliness. And in our case, this is really a lonely lighthouse, 2 hours away from the next village on foot. So, a family living all alone during the World War II. Turkey was not at war. That was natural. But the people in Turkey, they suffer from the consequences of the war because bread is rationed. The government had to get a reserve soldiers of 1 million in case Germans, Nazis attack Turkey. And people suffer in forms of poverty and deprivation. Privation. They don't have any money, any food to eat. And what can happen to a family far away from everything? How their life changed through a war, which is even not theirs. So we see in this novel. So they have a very routine life. They live in a lighthouse. They don't have anybody else. The children are very together. They are together because they don't have any other friends. They are not just siblings. They are also best friends of each other. So we see also family bonds and sibling love in my novel. But one day, the war starts. Not in Turkey, opposite in the islands. And then it starts changing even their lives. So this is the story of Lighthouse Family.
Ambassador, you speak about family values in this book, and it is indeed a common point between Turkey and India, where both societies emphasize family values a lot. But yet in India, we are in a process of transition. The joint family systems do not exist anymore. It's more unitary families. Urbanization is growing rapidly. Young people move out to the cities. And there is a loneliness epidemic, which is predominantly amongst the elderly, the senior citizens. This state in particular has this problem because a large number of people have left the state and gone to the Gulf countries or to other parts of India, other parts of the world. So how do you compare this to what happens in Turkey?
Yeah, I think we have the similar problems. Thanks God, family bonds are still very important in our societies in Turkey and in India as well. But we don't live in big families anymore, just in core families. And especially the old people now, they live all alone in many countries, not like in Western countries maybe, but still in societies as well. So family values are very important, the bond between family members. As when we keep it, then we don't feel lonely. But it is not always easy in our time. Modern times, we are condemned to live alone, I think, and live alone and sometimes die alone. But family values are important. And I think this is also the secret why Indian people like to watch Turkish series. Yeah, because in Turkish series, Indian people see families, family values, how they attach to each other. And this is like in India. In Turkish movies, you see the families very frequently, for example, in dinner or lunch all together. Families stick together. They talk their issues, they discuss, they eat together. And this is very familiar to Indian people, Indian audience. And the same is in Indian Bollywood movies as well. When we watch Bollywood movies, we see also the same events in Bollywood movies. The family is all together, they eat together and so on. So, but when you watch a Hollywood movie, you can see a family only in two events, two occasions. If it is a Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner. Except for this event, you cannot see a family in a table, at a table.
Even then, they're probably fighting with each other.
Yeah, they fight. they find a reason to fight always, yes.
I recall when I was posted in the Netherlands, the deputy mayor of The Hague, who was a person of Indian origin from Suriname, she used to say she was single and her mother lived with her. And she said none of her European friends would understand how a mother and daughter could live together. It was just impossible to explain to them that this is perfectly normal and there is, in fact, they are supporting each other in a big way. So from family ties, let's come to India and Turkey. As you know very well, the audience knows very well, Turkey is one of the countries which has been very closely connected to us in historical terms, in civilizational terms, in terms of culture. Wherever in North India you go, you will find an impact of Turkish culture. I recall meeting one of the former presidents of Turkey who said that as foreign minister, he was going from Delhi to Agra. The delegation decided to stop by the side of the road and go into a village to see what a village in India looked like. And the people came and hugged them and mobbed them when they heard that they were from Turkey, saying Turkeys, Turkeys, and insisted on lavishing the greatest of hospitality upon them. So there is an instinct in bond which comes from the term Turkey, and equally Kemal Atatürk was a hero during our national movement days. Mahatma Gandhi started the Khilafat movement in support of Turkey and its modernization. So a lot connects us. But how do you assess the current state of relations?
Yeah, let me also tell a bit about this story, because you mentioned, there are milestones in our relations, for example, Mahatma Gandhi's reaction and so on. But I would like to add some information if we have time.
Sure.
So the relations between Turkey and India, it goes back centuries. Accurately say, not the relations between Turkey and India, maybe the relations between Turkish and Indian people. we have been interacting for more than 1 millennium now already. And during the Ottoman time, you mentioned Khilafat movement, which is very important because the Western countries, which Great Britain also include, they had plans to divide and destroy Ottoman Empire. But the first reaction came from India. It starts with the Muslims in India. They established a Khilafat committee, but in a short time, it became a national movement in India, irrelevant of the religion. Everybody was a part of this, including Mahatma Gandhiji. They organized big meetings, and Mahatma Gandhiji also organized and joined this meeting in Mumbai and elsewhere. So this is very important development because Turkey was fighting against imperialism, and 5,000 kilometers away, our brothers in the subcontinent, they supported us. It is a big event. And after Khilafat movement, also Indian people support Mustafa Kemal's struggle against imperialism again. And I know, especially in Kerala, the sentiment was very, very high. In Friday sermons during Turkish War of Liberation in 1920s, people were urged to organize fundraising campaign for Turkish liberation movement. And in Kerala, in some newspaper, there were some announcements asking people to donate to buy a plane for Mustafa Kemal Pasha's army. So can you imagine? So strong. And then there was also, before that, in 1913, there was also a medical mission. That was also a legendary mission. People led by Ansari, many doctors, they went to Turkey. Can you imagine? It takes weeks to go to Turkey at that time, just to help the injured Ottoman soldiers after Balkan Wars. And then they established a hospital, in a field hospital in 2 places, exactly 110 years ago. And during Ottoman time, now we come to the Republic, Ottoman Sultan's daughters, they had marriages with Indian dynasties, Nizam. And we became also relative after this end. So we really receive great assistance from India. And Indian independence movement was inspired for Turkish independence war, because they thought, if Turkey made it, we can do it. There is a word from Mahatma Gandhi. Let me try to find the right expressions. He said, quote, I was thinking that Englishman was the God until Mustafa Kemal Pasha defeated him. So that was an inspiration. When you look through history books, you see a lot of inspiration. And during independence struggle of India, Turks supported India as well. So many literary people, poets, like a legendary poet Nazım Hikmet. He wrote poems supporting Indians' movement. And another female literary person, an author, Halide Edip Adıbar, she came several times to India and participated in meetings for Indian independence. So I tell because we shall keep all those in mind to understand the roots of our relations. So, now our relations are good, is going in good direction, and we have so many commonalities. You told some of them. We have some cultural, traditional closeness, And we have, for example, did you know that we have 9,000 common words in Hindi and in Turkish, like dost, düşman, insan, insaniyet, panir,
I've been fascinated by the fact that it is words of passion. Dosti, dushmani,
dosti,
sharab.
Sharab, lal, red. And not only
Naan is common to both countries.
And not only in Hindi, I've heard that also some words in Malayalam, they come also direct from Turkish. For example, the word ata. Ata, ata. So this is a real Turkish word, and then it is being used in Malayalam as well. So that's why we have so many commonalities. Maybe in our daily life, we are not aware how familiar Turkish and Indian societies people are, but we are really indeed. We just gave an example about dinners and so on. I can give thousands of examples. When I watch Bollywood movies, I really pick up, they do the same, they make the same. They take the shoes out when they go inside. They have huge respect for elderly. Or I have so many, examples in mind. We are very similar. But if you want to know about now the relations, okay. So our relations are warm, is going in the right direction and developing rapidly. But more important than, it has a huge potential that we haven't used yet. Let's talk about, when we talk about politics, I would like to also talk some topics. Just 10 years ago, in 2012, our commercial trade was just 6 billion. I said just 6 billion, but it's a huge number, of course. 6 billion US dollars. But now, last year, it hit a new record, 13 billion within 10 years. And our new target is 20 billion. And the number of tourists visiting Turkey. Last year, we had a record with 270 and 270 people. And our new record will be 3.5 lakh. So this is developing. And then I see 3 weeks ago, I was in Kerala, in Calicut. I really see, especially with the people in Kerala, we have so many commonalities, and the people like Turkish people. And when we were just working along the festival area, we saw so many young people, girls or boys. They just reached out us and then said, talk Turkish with us. So many. And then I said, where did you learn Turkish? And then they said, I learned on my own, on the television. How? Why? And they said, because my dream is to be able to study in Turkey one day. So many, and this is also not just a coincidence that, my first book in Indian languages was published in Malayalam, and immediately the second one and the third one. We have really common culture.
Ambassador, how many times have you been to Kerala? And can you share some more impressions which are unique to Kerala?
Yeah, I think it's now fifth time.
Fifth time?
Yeah, third time in Trivandrum and fifth time altogether in Kerala. I have been here ambassador in Delhi for 3 years now already. But 5 time coming to Kerala, it's really...
In 3 years.
I was able to go all around India, from Himalayas to Andaman Sea. But I will tell you very frankly, Kerala is my favorite state, really.
Wonderful. Please give him a big hand.
No, that's true. That's true. I tell the same when I am in other states as well. I am very happy to be in India. I love all the states, but Kerala has a special place in my heart. I have to tell it. And because first of all, it's a pluralistic country. It is. When you go by car just on the road, suddenly you see an old church, or you see a mosque and Hindu temple next to each other. This is really something very good. And your climate, your nature, you really live in a paradise. Maybe you are not aware of this, but you live in a paradise. And your food is also very different. So these are just, my first reaction. But of course, it is deeper. Let me tell you something. Today is 8th of February, right? Yeah. 2 days ago, we had the first anniversary of the earthquake on 6th of February, 1 year ago. And Turkey shook by earthquakes, and more than 50,000 of people died exactly 1 year ago, and 11 cities were destroyed. So that's a really very bad event. But just some minutes ago, we talked about the common words. One of them was, you remember, dost. Turkish and Indian people, they really credit the real meaning of dost. India was among the first countries who sent 2 planes, search and rescue teams, immediately after the earthquake to Turkey. And then in 48 hours, they sent 4 more planes, altogether 6 planes. So this is a behavior of being dost. We did the same. When I came here in 2021, you remember that was in the middle of second wave of COVID, and that was really very bad times. And then Turkey sent also 2 big military cargo planes full with medical equipment, more than 50 tons. And in the same year, when Taliban just took the power in Kabul, our embassy and our military contingent in Kabul helped Indian embassy to evacuate. So maybe they don't make headlines, but we indeed are really good friends with India. And when we return to the topic earthquake, I would like to say with pride that Kerala was the first state who reacted immediately after earthquake. The Keralan parliament conveyed immediately and issued a message of solidarity with Turkey. And then Chief Minister Pinajan, he also made a government statement and said Kerala will send 1 crore rupee to Turkey as assistance. So, see, I say we are friends, we love each other, but it based on the reality. I give you some examples. I am very happy and proud to be in Kerala again with you.
Thank you so much for all those nice words, Ambassador. I don't know how Turks are, but people of Kerala are very critical about our own society and our own government and our own people. But you highlight a good point. One of our biggest strengths is pluralism. In fact, this whole festival is a celebration of pluralism. And we feel at a time when pluralism is challenged across the world, we have a duty to protect it, to preserve it, to nurture it, and to strengthen it. So truly, pluralism is one of the highlights of this society, just as much as it is for India. Let me come to a different question, which is both political as well as cultural. Turkey stands in the middle of Europe and Asia. It's the bridge. It connects Europe and Asia. In today's Turkey, do people look more towards Europe than to Asia? How do you see yourself, or how do you situate yourself as a writer? Are you more European in your writings? Are you more Asian in your writings?
When you look at the world map, you see the location of Turkey is very central. Even for some people who doesn't understand geopolitics or politics and foreign relations, they can just pick up the position of Turkey. It's really located because it is built in 2 continents, Asia and Europe. And Istanbul is the only city in the world which is located in 2 continents, Asia and Europe. But, okay, what is Turkey? Turkey is an European country. Turkey is an Asian country as well. And Balkan and also Caucasian, because our location gives us the privilege. This is the crossroad of civilizations. And that's why all the values of the region merged in Turkey, converged in Turkey. The variety of Turkish food, that's why so rich. And then I refuse to say Turkey is a European country or Turkey is an Asian country. Turkey is both. And as I am a writer, of course, it has an impact on my writings because Turkish culture is so rich. Throughout history, we merge with different civilizations. And when I write or as an author, I feel myself as Asian and European, but even also African, because we have also so many characteristics from Africa. We have interacted with African countries. We have also cultures. So we are at the crossroads of civilization. That's why we are all from the region.
And you enjoy the best of both worlds.
Thank you.
Ambassador, and for the audience, you might be wondering that why Ambassador says Turkiye as different from the Turkey which we have all heard of. It is very similar to our own city and many places in our country where an anglicization of a place has been returned to the original. The way Trivandrum became Thiruvananthapuram, similarly Turkey became Turkey. Ambassador, tell us something about Turkey's role in international affairs. Under President Erdogan, Turkey has been playing a very active role in the region, trying to mediate conflicts. In particular, during the Russia-Ukraine conflict, it played an important role in mediating the Black Sea Accord, which permitted grain to be shipped out of both Russia and Ukraine and to different parts of the world, which helped address the grain shortage in many parts of the world. So today, Turkey is a very dynamic, a very vibrant, proactive player on the international stage and in the region. Can you tell us something about it?
Yes, Turkey's mediation and facilitation functions, they are well known. And they are all based on Mustafa Kemal Atatürk's, the father of Turkey's principle, peace at home, peace in the world.
Sorry, peace at home is?
Peace at home, peace in the world.
Peace at home and peace in the world.
In the world. This is Mustafa Kemal Atatürk's principle. And
both
our
have
policy,
to go side by side.
Based on this, because we are always for peaceful coexistence. This is our foreign policy. And of course, we are very active in mediating and facilitating efforts as well. Not only in Russia and Ukraine, as you said, we are also active in Somalia, in Afghanistan, in Venezuela, in Philippines. So we try to do our best. And when we return to Ukraine and Russia conflict, Turkey in this regard has a very unique place. We maintain very deep and special relations with Russia. And we have also very good relations with Ukraine. So both countries, Ukraine and Russia, they trust Turkey. And that's give us a unique role. And then Turkey can be the only country in the world which can play the role of the mediator. And we did it also very well. After the conflict, I think it was last Antalya Diplomacy Forum in 2023 in Antalya, we brought the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine and Russia together in Antalya. That was first. And later also some technical committees they met in Turkey. All they start a new period. We also mediate between Russian Atomic Energy Association with International Atomic Energy Institution. So they are not very well known, but we had more than one mediation. We also helped in exchanging prisoners of wars in great numbers. So we played a very active role. And also in grain, you want to say, yes, thanks to the efforts of Turkey, our Black Sea grain effort lasted 1 year. But the conflict has different dimensions, and this is not easy to solve everything from yesterday to today. Of course, Turkey's efforts are continuing, but the conflict itself is not easy to solve.
Thank you. Ambassador, we have 15 minutes, so I'll just ask you 2 more quick questions, and I hope you can give us short answers, and then we will open it out to the audience. One, Gaza. We are all watching every day on the television channels the horrendous war, the devastation, the destruction, innocent civilians being killed. I was just at the Indian Foreign Ministry the other day where they were pointing out that 30,000 civilians have been killed in Gaza as compared to just 2,000 in the Russia-Ukraine war. If there are deaths in the Russia-Ukraine war, these are combatants. But innocent civilians are not being battered and destroyed, their lives completely being uprooted, as is happening in the case of Gaza. What are your personal views on it? What is Turkey doing? Do you think a solution is ever possible?
Yes, what is happening in Gaza is shame for the humanity. This really, you mentioned, I think it's the updated number, 30,000 people died. And it is really a shame for all of us. We mention the loss in Gaza as numbers, but they are human, they are people. And more than 10,000 children were killed in Gaza. 10,000 children were killed along with their dreams. And there is a huge tragedy, humanistic tragedy. And what is the world doing? Just looking at the tragedy, doing nothing. And Turkey is very active in this regard. We try to move some mechanism in this regard. Our view, official view, is very clear. First, we need a permanent and urgent ceasefire. Without this, we cannot reach anything. And there are captives in both parts. The captives must be also released. And then humanitarian aid. This is also a huge problem. Turkey and many other people, they are sending humanitarian aid, but they don't reach out for Palestinian people. So this is a real tragedy of the 21st century. And the source, the roots of the problem is very old, of course. And in Gaza, Gazan suffers, and I think only Gaza people, Palestinian people, shall decide about their future, not anybody else. And before Palestinians have an equal and sovereign state, we cannot solve this question. Without a state, sovereign state, we cannot go through the core of the question.
Yeah.
So this is very important.
It has to be a two-state solution.
Yes, yes. But you know, many countries talk about the same. They share, most of the international community same. They say Palestinians must have their sovereign country, and their borders must be based on pre-1967 borders, and humanitarian aid must continue, and so on. Yeah, okay, but how to implement? United Nations are not in the position to implement those decisions.
I think that the Gaza crisis shows how important the UN has been.
Yes.
It also shows the hypocrisy of the great powers.
Yeah.
On one hand, people were quick to point fingers at Russia, which violated international law, did something completely wrong. But at the same time, when it comes to Israel, they're willing to completely condone it, and the US is willing to exercise a veto in support of Israel, and the West is not doing adequately enough to stop the war.
Yes, exactly. We know the solution, we know what to do, and the majority of international community agrees. But how to implement this? How you make Israel to implement those decisions? So that's why our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Hakan Fidan, he has a new initiative, a guarantee mechanism. We shall establish a guarantee mechanism to survive how to implement peace and all those decisions. That's very important. Without a mechanism, we just talk and people continue to die in Gaza.
Ambassador, if you look at the world today, there are many conflicts. There are many things which are going wrong. Many of our dreams, which people cherished when the Cold War ended, have turned out to be mere illusions. As a writer, I remember in Jaipur at the literary festival, you said any writer has to be automatically anti-war. How can writers, how can the cultural community, how can sensitive people arouse the consciousness of the masses, the public at large, to raise their voices, to protest, to influence political leaders to take the right decisions?
Yeah, first of all, an intellectual cannot be pro-war. Like he cannot be anti-humanist. So we have to be all anti-war people and humanists. And how can you move people for justice? Everybody has its own capacity. Please don't think that only intellectual people, luminaries can do it, not the ordinary people. No, we all have responsibility, and everybody can do its share to fight against justice. So in that case, I don't see any difference.
I am Abhay Kumar from Kochi. I had the chance of traveling in Turkey in 2014 and 2016. I have explored Istanbul like anything. I like the place, love your food. And I have also written a book on Istanbul in Malayalam called Girl from Istanbul. My question is, can we draw some parallel between that Turkey becomes Turkey and now India is becoming Bharat?
I don't want to.
I think that's a complicated question
yes,
for the ambassador.
Parallel. I can just explain why Turkey has changed names. The historical names is Turkey. When you look into old maps, even during Ottoman time, in old maps you can see the words Turkey. All the Middle East people, they call Turkey. Turkey is the English word for Turkey. So we just want to use the original word. This is all. So you don't need to, search anything behind this. This is the original name.
Any other question? Over here, please.
Sir, do you think that the UN body said to be omnipotent is now impotent before the Palestinian issue? It is very
the UN body, which is supposed to be omnipotent, is now impotent in front of the Palestinian issue.
United Nations is not an impotent body. It is potent. Which is important is United Nations Security Council. Because there are 5 permanent members, they have veto rights, and one of them said no, then you cannot implement any question. So this is unacceptable. It has to be changed.
Over here, please.
Dear Ambassador, we have writer diplomats in Southern America's literature history, like Fuentes, Asturias, and they are great. And it's an honor for us to have a contemporary Turkish writer and diplomat. But what I wonder is the opposite side of it. Your counterparts, I mean other diplomats, Japanese, Indians, and do they read your novels, or in general, what's their relation with literature and arts?
Yes, we diplomats like to read each other's novels. For example, the first Indian novels that I ever read was Vikas Sivarup's novels, all of them 3. And my disadvantages, my novels were not published in English. I think from now on it's going to be read by diplomats as well. And I know that Vikas Sivarup read my novel as well because we discussed about this issue. Yes, because we share the same lifestyle, diplomats, and we are always wondering what's written and so on, because we find something in common. That's why we like to read each other's novels.
Ambassador, if I can follow up on that, and let me just say that Ambassador is preceded by the great Mexican writer Octavio Paz, who was ambassador to India. Pablo Neruda was an ambassador to many countries. So there is a long tradition of writers becoming diplomats and diplomats becoming writers. And I'm very proud that the Indian Foreign Service, which includes Vikas Swarup, whose name was mentioned, has a large number of people who have written. In fact, we tried to compile the list of the books, and the list keeps expanding.
And very famous
fast.
Dr. Ambassador Sarma.
Ambassador Navteej Sarna is a writer. Lakshmi Puri had a book which was released recently.
Deputy Secretary General and very talented ambassador. Yes,
that's right. So, but Ambassador, what is it in the diplomatic experience? Does the diplomatic experience give you a special opportunity or a special inspiration to write?
Yes, as far as you can separate the ink you use, you can be successful. But when you mix diplomacy and literature, there will be a chaos.
Both will be a failure.
Yes, no, they cannot go together, but they feed each other. This is, the advantage of this.
Absolutely. The gentleman there, please.
I would like to get your comment on Mr. Erdogan's policies now as compared with your founder of modern Turkey, Ataturk. Your comment on that? And
comment on President Erdogan's policies as compared to Kemal Atatürk's policies.
And secondly, a few years back in the last term of Erdogan, there was a revolt of the Turkish army, a section of them. What could be the reason?
Well, I think we have run out of time.
Yes, out of time. And these are questions, I need to give comprehensive answers, and I cannot do it in 1 minute, sorry.
I think some issues are better tackled on a one-to-one basis with the ambassador.
So because these are not yes or no question, I need to give some explanation to make a good picture for you.
Okay, I think I have one last question for the ambassador.
Question here.
Okay, quick.
Good evening, Ambassador. Good evening, Venu sir. My question is addressed to Venu sir. Over the last few years, we have seen India's foreign policy becoming more assertive and strong. But in the case of Israel-Palestine issue, it's still the two-state solution that's being promoted. In the context of so much of humanitarian loss and even basic aid being denied, do you see India's policy or the stance becoming stronger in this specific context?
I think this question is for your ambassador, because he's also ambassador.
Are you saying India's policy is getting stronger in which direction?
Assertive, more assertive.
More assertive in terms of?
Our stance, it's becoming more, we are putting it outwardly now. In the even in case of the meetings that the foreign minister has had in the European Union and things, our position is very strong.
Foreign policy evolves, technology evolves, the actor evolves. Today, social media plays a very important role. Our foreign minister is good on social media, so he speaks, it is publicized widely. But on the specific of the Palestinian issue, I would say that though Prime Minister Modi almost instantly called up Prime Minister Netanyahu, expressed support for him, and there is a certain sentiment in support of Israel as a victim of terrorism. But equally, if you study the foreign ministry statements, you find a reiteration of India's traditional position in support of Palestine that has been repeated in the UN General Assembly through our speeches. So I don't think our position has fundamentally changed. Maybe in the leaders, there is a change in sentiments, but it is very difficult for the policy to be completely overturned because there are sort of decades of history behind it from the time Israel was born. India was a country which voted against Israel when Israel was born, because the logic used for Israel was exactly the same as the logic used for Pakistan. They wanted a religious state, a state for a religion as different from a secular society. And I do not see how we can compromise on that. Ambassador, one last and quick question.
I think, do we have time?
Yes.
Okay.
A book on India before you leave India. We want you to stay here forever, of course.
Yeah.
But still, is there a story on India coming up?
There will be at least 2 books about India.
2 books about India. We look forward to it. Please give him a big hand. Thank you so much, and we hope you'll keep coming to Kerala.
It's time to wind up a session.
I would like to give Ambassador Venu just some examples of Turkish novels published in Malayalam.
Thank you so much.